Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to critique your videos, your images. We had a little bit of a problem. The first section of this crashed. I'm going to go through it again. So we're back at it. And here we go one more time. Again, we're trying to learn this program. So give us a little bit of slack as we figure it out. So here we go. Starting off with critiquing the images that you sent through our business coaching class, or our business class, business Facebook class. Oh my word, our business Facebook group. There you go. So you can put images up on there. You've got a link in the description below. We'll be doing this once a month at least. I love critiquing work. I love talking about work. I've taught and critiqued work several different universities actually. The one that's closest and most notable has been Art Center College of Design. Very comfortable talking about images, and I'm going to talk about yours and give you some perspective about it. So let's get started. We start off first with Andrew Chung. He's got a great image here of a dog, black and white. I mean, there's a lot of great things that are happening about this. The contrast is really, it brings us in. It makes us engage with the image. It really does a great job in that way. But there's several things that are really hurting this image. And one is that the dog's out of focus. When that becomes such a strong, central, kind of hinging part of your image, it's got to be in focus. It really has to be in focus. And also the vignette's a little heavy on this. It just feels too crushed. And you might want to vignette it a little bit from the bottom and not always just do a circle vignette that really calls too much attention to itself. Allow it to gradate from the bottom and up. But otherwise, you got a great image there. You might want to get away from the center punch thought. I mean, when we center punch images, put them right in the center just causes kind of a problem for us. This next image here that's from Marco de Almeida, and I apologize for how I say your names. It's not going to be right, and I apologize. It's not my strong suit by any means. But Marco here has an image. Again, it's very center punched. Got the subject matter right in the middle. That's what that means. And there's not a good reason for it. If all of these lights, and it looks like LED strands, if they were pointing towards the person, then that would make a great reason to have this centered. But if they're not, and it's just kind of these lines, we lose kind of the reason to put them in the center. It would be more interesting if we move them off into one of the quarters of the frame, that rule of thirds. If you put two lines down equally across the horizontal and two lines equally across the vertical, where those lines dissect each other are really the strong elements in the design of an image. So also on this one, we don't have enough light on our person, and because they're so dark, a couple of rim lights on this person, one on right and left, just to rim them a little better, would have made this image a lot stronger, or even a tiny bit of light on their face would have helped us and would have been a little stronger as well. All right, our next one here is from Brad Oliver. And Brad, you've got a great image here in some ways, but in other ways it's flawed. And the reason is that you've got so much stuff reflected into the top of the car here that it just competes with everything else that you have going on. I love the color palette. I love the image, the colors that are here, but it's just so busy. We've got the windows from the house reflected in. You can put a white translucent up and clean some of this stuff up as you shoot it, so it gets rid of all those reflections from the building above us. And some of those reflections also are doing the same thing in the side of the car as well. We fall way out of focus on the side, which is not bad, but maybe burn that down a little bit so it's just a little nicer. And we got this really dead corner up here on the camera left side where it just goes into what looks like dust or something on the car. That corner's not helping you. I would crop this a little tighter, come down, lose that corner, and let it go into maybe a little less of the car on the right-hand side as well, and I think this is going to be a stronger image for you. All right, Bram Tolkamp. I'm going to go to just a couple here. I like Bram's, some of the outdoor portraits, very comfortable. The people seem very nice, seem approachable, but I'm not sure they're giving you enough about them. I mean, I look at them and the image, they're smiling and it's nice, but do we really feel enough about who this person is? I think working with getting them to engage the camera in some of them and to feel a little more comfortable, I think is going to make those a little stronger. The second one I go to is the girl in what looks like a hallway. Fabulous image, and there's several things that are working here for me. One is that we've got these leading lines from the camera left side that just kind of gracefully move into the image and draw our eye into the person. She is in the right wardrobe, in the right situation, with the right makeup, and she's the right model. So everything about this image is working for us. Everything falls way out of focus in the background so it doesn't become too busy. We aren't too overwhelmed by the other things we see in the shot. We get a chance to engage her. But we also have a chance to understand that she's probably a college student or in some kind of a, we have the lockers on the left. There's something going on there that's telling us a little bit about her and her life, and I think that's really interesting. The second one, if we go to her against this black background, not quite as interesting because we center punch her again and we slam her against this black background, and it's just a lot more busy, not quite as interesting. If you turned her look a little bit to camera left, so she's looking this direction, now we can see her face a little better. I don't think Christy's got this up yet, but there's our image. And now, if we turn to the left, we're not looking into the broad side of the light. We're letting some shadows fall to the left-hand side, and it's going to be a little more interesting. Plus, she's not looking out of the frame to the camera right side. She's looking to camera left here. And I don't think Christy ever found that image. Oh, she did. Very good. Moving on here. All right. You can make that image bigger sometimes, Christy. They don't need to see me the whole time. Who wants to look at me the whole time? I do love a lot of these things, the way Bram is lighting. I love the image here, the girl against the green wall, because, again, we got all those things working for us. The vignette's a little harsh, but I like the way she's positioned. I like the fact she's looking into the light, the camera left side. We got the light, just our lines move into her. She pushes back towards our natural way to view and to read this, and that causes us to want to look at it again because we go in a circle. We look into her gaze kind of looks back out, we're going to move back out, we're going to look at it again. And all the shadows fall to the camera right side, which means there's nothing to see over there. Come back and look at me again. That's really what this image is saying. So some great work there, just some excellent work. So this one's from Brandon Stevens. Brandon, I love this kind of close face study. The light is nice, it's up, it's high, you got a butterfly on her face, and we got a little bit of fill from underneath. I feel an engagement with her. She looks at us. I feel an honesty there that you perhaps don't feel in a lot of portraits. I feel like she's willing to engage us, and maybe her chin could be down just a hair. It would help her just a little bit, and the camera could be up just a little bit higher. Would help us to minimize some of the features of the face and to just focus on her eyes. It's a little bit overexposed. I could bring this down a little bit in editing, but I think a pretty image where she's looking at the camera, and I just find this engaging. I think she's engaging, and it's just a nice portrait. I love round octadomes when it comes to lights, key lights in the eyes. I think that's a nice way to go, and that's one of the reasons I don't use softboxes as much when I'm doing portraits. All right, moving on here. Okay, Charlie Murphy. Charlie, you've got some great things going on here. There's some great color. There's the blurring water, so you've used a long exposure. But the things that are killing you here, and there's two of them. One is, this is a scenic shot, and you're doing it in really harsh light. If you got out here and shot this same image, this exact same image, in the morning just as the sun is coming up and you get these kind of open luminosity, it would be a much different image. So that's the first thing. Your time of day when you shoot this is a little too harsh in the light. Most people don't get great scenics because they don't go out to shoot when the great light is happening. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the design is very, very busy. We've got vertical lines, and we've got harsh light, and we've got the water in the background, the tree going over the edge. We just have, this stuff is very, very busy. We've got to simplify this. Make this into 3 to 5 simple elements. And when I say 3 to 5, I mean when you have a grove of trees and they all are darkened and they're all working together, that becomes a single element. That dark row of trees going into a horizon line becomes a single element. A river as it goes out now becomes a single element. So look to create single elements that really emphasize the design that's going on, and a design that's going to give the viewer a viewing experience, and it's going to push them into a second viewing experience. So those are the things you need to work on. So get out there and shoot some more, and take a look there. So shoot some more. All right. So I'm hoping everyone will feel like this is good information that will help you to think and get out there and to shoot again. I want you to shoot again, send some stuff in again, and let's look at it. Let's see you grow. Let's see your imagery grow. Let's see you change as you move forward and as we have a chance to work together. Okay, this is Christopher Campos. Okay, Christopher, let's see what you got here. and there we go. Nope, and there we go. Yep. Okay, Christopher, again, the elements are here, but our approach is not quite working. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why I feel not. One is we're trying to get over a crowd, and I realize we're in a situation where it's a performance. And in that, as if you're saying, okay, it's an event, and I want a nice shot of the performance, you've done a great job. It's doing a great thing. You've chosen the right time to photograph them. Design should move us up and should sweep. That sweep, move us up into the upper right-hand third and sweep out. Move us up in the lower right-hand third and sweep us out again. We have some of that going on. It sweeps up to our person who is up in being held up. We get that high sweep and then the kind of the tail off. If I flop this, I'd even be happier because the person leading out is now going to push us back away from the natural viewing tendency, and it's going to give us, we're going to sweep up and it's going to push us back into away from leaving the frame. Right now I sweep up and I sweep on out and it gets rid of me. So, I mean, if we flop this, it actually would be a stronger design. Again, like I say, if this is an event photograph, you're doing a great job here. But if you were controlling this, it now would be time to light it, and I would get a little lower. It would push some of this higher, although I see people up in the stands might destroy your design completely. But anyway, you have some nice lines going on here. Done a great job for the event that you're in, but I think possibly some light and doing some things to control this a little better would help you. Dana, into Dana. Dana Stead? Sorry, Dana. Okay, Dana's got 4 images here. 2 of them, I think, knock it out of the ballpark. And 2 of them are pretty good. You know, I think this one little girl looking at the iPhone on the bed is pretty good. And I think the little girl laughing is pretty good. But when I see this little girl with the hat on, and I see things kind of blur out, I'm really feeling something about this little girl. The design of this is much nicer. Again, I work from left to right, and maybe that's just too much of a weakness for me, but I would flop this image absolutely, no question about it, and I would knock down some of these bright things on the right-hand side. Just in editing, just knock those down a little bit. You don't have to make a vignette out of it or anything, because I like the green bokeh that's going on. I would maybe even clone some of the green bokeh into more of the white vase and kind of allow that to be just a beautiful, soft thing on the camera right-hand side. I feel engaged with this little girl, little boy. I mean, I don't know. But now, when I go to this image of the little girl and the drapes, I love what's going on here. I feel like this is a moment that will last forever. It's a moment in this little girl that is significant to me because she just seems so real. I like the curtains that tell me a little bit about where she lives and what she's like. I like the light on her face. I like the way it falls off on the bottom. I would maybe knock this curtain down just a little bit, but I think it's a very pretty image and has some very successful things. We're doing just some really nice things. You are very talented, Dana, and I would keep working. If this is your subject matter, I wear it. People make, you know, careers out of photographing the same whatever, you know, and I think you could do some incredible images. Keep doing this because it has, your editing here is nice. I think if I'm understanding it, you're editing very warm and you're giving a very warm look to these. I don't think they've all been shot like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would be my guess. You're done a great job on your editing. All right, Fada Hammond. Sorry, Fada, just moving ahead. All right, Fada has the advantage. Do I need to turn these around? Or does that help you? Or okay. So Fada's got a couple of things going on here, and there's 3 images, and okay, I'm going to talk about each of these really quickly. Fada, the road going away, that's been done a lot of times. You've done it nicely here. I can see the burn in from the top, and the burn in to the top kind of dies on the horizon line. You've got to work on that a little better. You've got to get that to not feel like it's glowing off from the horizon line quite so much if you're going to have that burn in the sky. And there's ways to do that, to be able to let that burn. Actually, this is a shot that I would probably have taken and put a neutral density gradation filter, so when you shot it, and try to gradate that down into the mountain. Anyway, we'll move on that. We won't go too far on that. I like this next shot of the gentleman with the flag in the background. The design is a little jumbled up for me. It's just a little all over the place. He breaks out of the frame, the vertical lines, the flag. I think it's struggling on a couple of levels. I'm not sure where we're at or why we're after this. but it doesn't work near as well as this gentleman here, the electrical line that kind of goes through the shot. And we see this electrical stuff. I love this leading line that comes in from the left-hand side. I love the texture in his hands and the background, the way it's, there's a lot about this. I would crop some of this stuff off from the camera right-hand side. You don't need to see all that electrical over there, and just make this a little simpler. But I do like this. Now, I don't mind him being in the center here because of this other leading line and the things that are happening in the frame. I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on here. There really is. So excellent job. Excellent job. Okay. That one's not showing up. Okay, next one is Ira Jacob. Ira has a whole bunch of images here. So I'll probably pick one or two that I think are the most successful, and I'll go through it. Have you found them there, Christy? All right. All right, I'm starting off with the building. I'm not sure what kind of building it is. There's something, these clouds, if that's the way it was shot, I think there's something in post-processing we're doing there to give us that kind of streaking, and it feels a little unsettling to me. And if that's actually the way it happened, that's pretty amazing. But I'm going to go to what I think is one of the more successful images, and that's the lady in the wheat. I think it's very nicely done. We have this kind of, she is on the camera right-hand side, but the way her attitude is, it engages me. I feel like I want to come back. I got this leading line of the mountain that drops in from the camera left side. That just kind of re-engages me. I think this is nicely designed, and I think the elements are working together. We have strong, simple graphic elements, and I think that helps us a lot as we look at this image. There's several others here. I like the woman with the headdress on and the hat. I just love the texture here, and it may be a little over sharpened. You know, might just have a little too much texture in it, or maybe didn't do any at all, and that's just how it was. But I do love this. I like the white. It gives us that really nice kind of framing on hers. Really becomes a frame in the frame as we frame her face. It gives us our little breakout of that as we have her hand. It's nicely cropped. Feels very strong. I feel an honesty and an approachableness about her. Great, Ira, just great image. You have great images here, Ira. So I'm going to move on here. Next, Jacob is next. Jacob Rasmussen. I'm not saying that right. You can correct me if you want there, Christy. I don't know how to say that. Sorry, she's saying she doesn't know either. In the comments. What's that? Oh, never mind. All right. Okay, so Jacob, you've got some things that are working here. This first shot of the person on the train is really nice, but it feels, I want it to feel more genuine than it does. He's looking at us. I don't feel like we've invaded his world at all. I don't feel like we've gotten a moment from him that feels genuine. He's a little far back there. I would crop in on this thing. I would cut at least 50% out of this when I shot it. I would move in, make him a stronger element in the frame, and I would shoot several of these until he starts to become distracted by you. So he starts looking around, he starts thinking about himself, he starts, you know, the longer you shoot there, the more uncomfortable he'll get, or the more comfortable he'll get, and he'll start to forget about you. The train kinds of things, as we see the elements of the train, the tracks going by, and we see the sun in the background. It's a nice shot, it's been done a lot. I think there's something, you can make this possibly a little stronger. I actually like the shot of the bicycle taxi going down the road. I think that's really has some interesting elements going on because we've got this kind of the atmosphere in the back that's giving us this dark shape of the bicycle taxi. We've got the leading lines of the buildings. I mean, you just feel where we're at and kind of the situation. I think that's designed very nicely. Same with the, and this looks like a film image or it was just a lot of grain. The image that was shot of the gentleman who's on the boat. We've got the boat that leads in. I wish he was looking back towards us a little bit so we got a little bit of sense of who he is, but I do love the grain. I love that kind of film look. All right, I'm going to keep moving on here because I take too long on everyone. Okay, this next one here, and I'm not going to know how to say this name. It's from J Hard Photography. That wasn't so hard. Okay. Okay. This image has some elements that want to work. We've got a couple. They're a good-looking couple. They feel comfortable together, obviously as bride and groom or what have you here. But There's too much busyness in the background. Look at all these trees and the busyness there in the building. There's so much going on back there that is just killing us, that it's making it difficult for us to feel really comfortable with this couple. And so, you need to see this here, Christy. Oh, she doesn't have it. I'll put it right there. Just go to that frame right there. It's the background is what's really hurting us on this. We really need, oh, and I lost it, dang it. It's not letting me get out of this now. Okay, one more time. Can you see it there?
Angle it back towards you. Yeah.
So the background, the busyness that's going on in the background back there is really difficult for us to get past. Either you've got to get yourself to really, you've got to get this couple in something that makes the background a simpler, more graphic canvas for them to be on. Whether that's looking into a blue sky, whether it's looking into, I mean, there's several different ways. I get down low a lot of times when you're with a couple because you can get them up into the sky and the sky becomes one single element. Remember, every good image is going to become 3 to 5 strong, simple elements. That's just really the rule of thumb. It just helps us. And sometimes red all through it becomes an element. You know, so when I say that, I don't mean it's only 3 elements like a dog, a chair, a bird, and a window. I mean that sometimes 100 elements become a single element because of the way they're lit, because of the way they are put into the frame. Just becomes, makes it much simpler. Okay, so we have some work to do there. Okay, mouth shade. Let's see what we got here. And the images. Okay, so we got 3 shots of this couple. And couple are engagement, look like an engagement couple to me. I don't know why that keeps doing that to me. I see on the very first one, we've got the sun's flare kind of going through in the background. Very pretty, nicely done. But again, we've got this couple smack dab in the middle. We've got so much busyness in the background. I mean, it's not super busy. So let me retract that. But it is becoming a heavier element back there. I think it works for me in a lot of different ways. If it wasn't for the fact the couple just kind of in the middle, crop off some of this right-hand side. Just make this even, I would crop into just about there from knees or above knees up. You don't want to crop at knees. You want to crop up into above the knees and make this a little stronger. I think the couple where she's looking into the camera and we see all this stuff in the background falling into a kind of a nicer bokeh type of look, I think is a nice image. Feels very comfortable. They're going to feel very happy with this as a couple. When we see the couple of them, with all, you got the stuff in the foreground, trying to make it blur out in the foreground, which is not bad. I do think though, in this kind of square format, crop in a little bit on the right hand side, make this a little more vertical, and I think it's going to be a lot stronger image. Okay, Norman, Norman is next. Norman's doing hockey stuff. Hockey, hockey, hockey. Boy, this is a hard thing to compete in. So Norman, the first 2, it's not making it. Number 1, we got so much in the background, there's a whole row of seats and things that are empty and it's just not doing anything for us. I know we see the skate pushing ice up and that's cool, but it's really not as powerful as it needs to be. Number 2, we see the person with the puck and we see a lot of stuff going on. Very busy though, way too busy. The best image here is the third one where we get, again, this has started to develop into smaller, simpler graphic elements. We see the one person who's just shot the puck. We see the 2 blue players on the right-hand side. We see a player out of focus in the background. This is feeling like an action hockey stuff. The stuff needs to look more like this. It's going to be a lot more successful here. So getting in tighter, you're going to need to get in tighter, longer lenses, use a teleconverter, get the things you need to, or just get where you need to be able to get things to fall out of focus in the background. I mean, there's great cameras out there that'll track action, be able to have you hang on to that action. But this stuff takes a lot of practice, and I shoot a lot. You've got to just shoot a lot because you're going to lose a lot, and that's part of the process. Okay, this next one I'm going to spell it R-A-J-I-V. Rajav? I don't know. I apologize on the name. I really do. I apologize. So your portrait is a snapshot and not really a portrait. You need to, and do you need me to show you this here, Christy? Okay. So this really is, it's straight on. He's squared up to the camera. He's punched right in the middle. It lacks any kind of sense of controlling it. The color feels off on what I'm looking at, but I may be looking at something. I'm beginning to think that what I'm looking at here is very, very warm, because most of the stuff has looked very, very yellowish to me. But let's work with him. Let's get him to turn a little bit so he's not so squared to the camera. Let's get rid of the person who's growing out of his head in the background and leaving the frame there. Let's put a little bit of light on his face so we start to feel like this is a portrait. You need to move it from just being a snapshot to turn it into a portrait. All right, Rasmus is next. So Rasmus, you've got some really interesting things going on here, and the reason a lot of these things work, the girl holding the leaf, is because you've got some very simple elements going on. And those simple elements start with, we have the tree. The tree is on a dark background. That background is back there far enough that it goes out of focus, it kind of blurs out. We've got the red and the frost on the red, and you got her reaching up. The light is in a nice position. The hoodie is a little much for me. I wish she wasn't in the hoodie. I wish she'd had her pull that hoodie down. We just saw her blonde hair. I think it would have been a little nicer. But I would then knock that hoodie down a little bit. I would just burn in the hoodie in editing, take that down just a little bit so it's not quite as important. I would even crop some of it out. You don't need to see so much of that. You could, this is it's truly a full, you got your whole frame here, crop the camera left side, get rid of some of the hoodie when you do that, knock it down just a little bit, not too heavy-handed, just a little bit, so that it gives us a nice comfortable look. You can even crop some of the tree out on the top, just come a little tighter. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, most of us crop way too loose, and we could get in a lot tighter and would make it a lot more interesting. Okay, Serge, we got the stargazing explosion. There you go. So these are fun to do. If you take and do these long exposures of lights or stars and things and do that telephoto as you shoot them, are just a lot of fun to do. It gives us a great reason for that center point. Again, play with that center point on where you place it in the frame. That's going to make it the most dramatic, and not necessarily right in the center or close to it. It's going to make that a lot more dramatic. So interesting image, interesting shot, and going on here to Stephen Blakeman. Stephen's got a whole bunch of stuff here. Stephen, dude. All right, I'll start with the first one with the cowboy here. Don't have it? Can't find it? Okay. Well, Stephen, I'm going to put it up here. We can look at it on the camera there, give us something anyway. And it keeps doing that to me every time I turn it around. So, Stephen, there's a lot of things working with this image. We'll just talk about this one because we don't seem to have them, and we can call them up. But it just, the things that are working are that you have my attention, the way it's lit, the way it's cropped. I like the elements, simple, strong design elements here. He does push off in that upper right-hand corner, which is always a danger to me, that people are going to just go out of the frame. And I feel some of that. I would probably flop this, but it's a very strong piece. I think it's a strong piece. It's got nice color palette. It just has a lot of things about it are working. So I'm going to go to one other that I like here. I think I've said this too many times, but Stephen, the same thing. We have this couple, and it's lit nicely. It could be brightened up just a little bit. It's a little too down, and it might be that I've got it, yeah, it could be what I'm looking at here, but brighten it up just a little bit. I like the way they're looking. There's a sense there. I wish he was a little more connected either to her, not so looking off, but just kind of looking down, or something that makes him a little more pensive, a little more comfortable. So you got some nice images here. You have some that feel more like photos, just quick snapshots. The lady in the pink is a snapshot. You know, you're not really, it's something you just grabbed, and it's not something you created. the 4 people in a row. It's something just grabbed, not created, where it doesn't have the same style and the same kind of thoughtfulness as the guitar player and the couple on black. So those are the ones you should aspire to do and kind of aim that direction. Okay. And why have I lost where I'm at now? Okay. I'm completely messed up now. Yep. Who else do we have there? Is there a name?
I have photos.
All right. Okay, so get me back on track here. So in this process, what I think is really important is to think about simple, strong design elements. I mean, that's really what we're looking for. Again, that sense of creating an image as much as it is about really not just finding an image. I mean, you can find images, but when you find them, create them afterwards. Go in and move elements around, bring light in that's going to really help us. So this next one here is from, I'm not sure which folder you're in.
John Livingston.
John Livingston. I'm not sure I understand this image. It looks like a compilation of 2 images to me, or a timed exposure where he's let the waves go through several times and he's caught several waves, and that's made this really kind of bloom, almost looks like wheat coming out of the rocks here, which is really interesting to me. I don't know that I understand it completely, but yeah, I like the elements of the sun in the background. I like the foreground of the rocks. It's just the water I'm not quite relating to. I just don't understand it well enough, and that's a problem. If I don't look at that, and on some level I either think, wow, that's really abstract and cool, or I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, I can tell what that is. I've got to go one way or the other. If I sit here and I'm going, I'm just not sure what it is, and I'm not sure what's happening, then it makes it difficult for it to read, and it's not going to engage your audience. But you have a lot of the great elements of a good landscape image here. Strong foregrounds, deep background, you know, things, actions happening. So I would look at some of the others that you have there and go from that. So, okay, we're going to Sudi. I'm not saying that right. S-U-T-T-I-A-T. Okay, Sudi, I'm going to talk about one image here, and I'll tell you why, and it's a silhouette. The silhouette is just really strong, and there's some really important things happening here. First off, when you shoot something with this strong a silhouette, it just becomes a very powerful, you have to look at it. I do find that the building dissects right into his head. I wish it didn't do that. I wish you'd moved him and gotten him away from that building so that you had him just isolated on his own. I like the cigarette and the attitude that he's got going there. It just gives me a sense that he's being who he is and he's not being affected by everything else that's around him. Don't have that image? All right. Well, I'm going to show you that really quick so at least people know what it is I was just talking about. There you go. So again, the building dissecting into his head is difficult. The cigarette, I think, is powerful. I just get a sense that he's not trying to hide anything. It's who he is. I would move this building away. I would move him into just this whole sky. I like the grain that's building in the sky, and that sense of texture. I really like that a lot in the image. Outside of that, you have some nice architectural things there that feel a little more, they're not as strong as the silhouette. The road with the snow in the background, I think you're just dealing with a nice shot you picked up as you're walking along, and I think we need to find the right time of day, we need to find the right place, and we need to create a stronger image there. All right, well, I know there's a lot more, but for today, we're going to call it a day here. So I hope you found this useful, helpful on some level. I would love to keep talking about images. I especially would love it when people do one thing, and that is, if If you shoot something and it didn't quite work out, or you felt like it was good but not excellent, shoot it again. When I was at art school, I shot things 2 and 3 times before I felt like I really got it to where I wanted it. I'd do a portrait session with a person, didn't quite get it, I'd go back and do it again. You know, so there's nothing wrong with doing things 2 and 3 times. Learn to keep pursuing it until you conquer it and you really get the image that you want out of it. You can send those images in to us again, we'll critique them again, we'll talk about them again, and hopefully we can help you to move along. Now the link to be able to send images in is below here, correct, Christy? It will be below as we post this, and we'll give you an opportunity to look at that link, send some images in so we can talk about some things in the future. I'm trying to be positive in a very constructive sort of way. I don't want you to walk away discouraged from this in any way, but anytime you get really good constructive a look at your work, then it's an important thing to take, regroup, reshoot, and post again. That's the best solution. That's the best thing you can do to be able to keep moving and progressing. So get out there, reshoot, shoot again, and send some more images in. So keep those cameras rolling and keep on clicking.